And that brings us to the big event today. Again, President Trump and Vladimir Putin coming together for a high-stakes summit in Anchorage, Alaska, as Russian missiles are actively falling on Ukraine. The world was watching, hoping the pair could help to bring an end to the violence. Speaking from Air Force One en route to the summit, President Trump said that they would discuss the Russian-occupied territory, but he is not in a position to agree to any territorial swaps between Russia and Ukraine. Trump has threatened Russia with, quote, very severe consequences if Putin does not agree to end the war. Notably absent from the summit, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Marybel Gonzalez joins us live now outside Joint Base Elmendorf-Richardson in Anchorage, Alaska, where the two leaders gave a press conference just about 2 hours ago. Marybel, it seemed as though not much was achieved during the 3-hour meeting. What were some of the big takeaways, if there were any?
Yeah, Joyce, there are definitely more questions than answers from this summit. Now, I should mention just moments ago, right before we came live on your air, we saw President Putin's aircraft taking off from that airbase that is just a few miles down the road behind us. But to your point of nothing really concrete coming out of this, I think that is the takeaway from this press conference. But there were a lot of significant moments that happened. For one, the two leaders were side by side during this press conference. That has not happened in years. And we also saw that the President Trump allowed President Putin to speak first. That is not very typical protocol when it comes to the person or to the country that is hosting these kinds of high stakes summits. We also know that at the very last minute, we were informed that now that advisors were going to be joining the summit. This was supposed to be a one-on-one with the president, but the advisors joined in. But we do know that there was a brief moment when the two leaders had a one-on-one, and that was during the ride from the tarmac to the meeting itself. President Putin joining President Trump inside of the presidential limousine. Now, what they discussed during those moments, we may never know.
You know, you mentioned some of the moments that stand out. Also, the red carpet welcome for the president of a country that's not an American ally. Ukraine is not participating in this summit despite being at the center of this whole issue. So how is President Zelensky responding?
Yeah, so President Zelensky, of course, has always been weary that this summit would grant them some sort of peace deal. He even mentioned that before the presidents arrived here in Anchorage, Alaska, Ukraine was being attacked by Russia. So he did send out a video message saying that even during peace talks, supposed peace talks, they're still being attacked by Russia. So they said, you know, take this with a grain of salt. That speaks louder than words. Another thing that came out of this is, you know, Zelensky said they're betting on America to at least push these conversations forward towards a peace deal. He also said he'd be willing to sit down for a trilateral session, a trilateral meeting with the three countries, but only if Russia agreed to a peace deal. And I should mention, Joyce, that Putin, during the press conference, he did say that it is important to secure Ukraine's peace. He also said that he acknowledged that they would need to reach some sort of peace deal. But of course, this is in contradiction to what actually is happening on the ground.
In a big way. Very true. Marybel Gonzalez, live for us in Anchorage tonight. Thank you so much.